again to this other half of this episode. Women in Business. I'm Doreen Kemcha on Smart 24 TV. Our guest today, Miss Olga Nichols Walusimbi. Olga, we were discussing, about some of the intricacies coming into this particular space in business, finding these huge shoes to fill, 50 years, family business. And we got talking about some of those nitty-gritties. And I remember a guest that I had one time said, this is not a sisterhood, It is not mentorship is not a sisterhood. I'm not interested in what your feelings are or what this and that. And yet I had another guest also say at the same time that what makes it easier for her, what makes her love her business is that it gives her the time to be a mother. It gives her the time to say, you know what, I can't meet you. I'm going to cancel this meeting because I have personal stuff to take care of. I know you are in a male-dominated space. How do you balance? Because it is not about just being a man, turning off the feminine switch. You can't. You are a woman in business. When do you know when to turn on which switch? Let me use the switch. When do you know when to turn on which switch and keep alive to yourself as a woman? And when do you know when to say, you know what, business-wise?
Yes. Well, let's start with the foundation. You start with the foundation as you, as a human being, as a person in business. Okay, once you have that foundation, you know that this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm doing, in my day, then you read the room. That reading the room is, when do we switch? I don't know who I'm going to deal with, so I can't plan to switch already. I don't know what I'm switching to yet. So say I get in somebody who's aggressive, male or female, get somebody who's aggressive, I'm working with them, and I don't necessarily have to look at them as male or female. I have to look at the behavior, the behavior of the person. Because once you approach them as male or female, then you're going to also do what you don't want people to be doing to you, to treat you as a female, discriminate against you because you're female. So you see their energy, you see in the demeanor in which they come, and then you have to react accordingly. You don't react, never, ever emotionally. Never, ever react emotionally. Then you know which way you're going to go. Are you going to be softer or are you going to be stern, direct? So you have to...
to balance.
Yes.
Why I'm asking this is that reports have said women make better CEOs.
Yes.
Women make better leaders.
Right.
Because they bring with them empathy.
Yes.
Yes. They bring with them seasoned people skills.
Yes.
Yes. And
Yes.
they bring with them the business and the administration to board.
Yes.
So it's all in one. And they have that particular glue, especially for the people skills.
Right.
They are able to harness
Yes.
the resource, the human resource within the organization.
Right.
But also be able to appeal and talk to the
Yes.
client as the client comes in.
Great points, yes.
That is why I'm asking. So
Yes.
one point is saying they come with the empathy, they come with
Yes.
this. And then we're getting another side that says,
Yeah.
you know what, in business, we don't want this empathy.
Right.
We don't, so what works?
That's a great point, and that sounds like a challenge, in and of itself. But I said, when you begin with yourself, then you know how to deal with the situation. That's why we have to continuously be growing, be mentored, continue training. We have to get our own, take our own initiative, personal initiative, to start to grow, because those are the things that are getting us through these challenges that we might face. Yes, women are great at all those things that you mentioned, but when do we know? It's by reading the person. It's by reading the person's energy and not seeing them as the gender that they are or the position, but reading that person's demeanor. Because a lot of times you might meet a person, maybe a CEO, that you've heard so much about them. They're this, they're strong, they don't listen, they're hard to deal with. Don't go in with that mindset. Don't go from what you've heard. Read that present moment. Women, we have intuition. That's another great. That is a great characteristic to have as a leader, and as we already have that as women. So we have to use that. We have to use what we have, and we have great intuition. So read, be attentive, be more of a listener than somebody who wants to talk. Because a lot of times we think, we know so much. because we have those great skills. We come with these personal, interpersonal skills. We come with that.
And I wish people, because we get to talk to many different people.
Yes.
Yes? Key stakeholders, we get to talk to the Wananchi down, we get to talk to so many different people. And some of them will actually, especially men,
Yes.
they will tell you that sometimes they are cagey, they're a little bit hesitant to deal with women, managers and women, women women leaders, because they don't know how they will react.
Yes.
Yes, it seems like sometimes we are on a yo-yo. Yeah,
Yes.
up 1 minute, down and the next.
I think it's also, culturally ingrained. We're coming from, societies where women were predominantly staying at home.
Yeah.
So
getting them out there in the space
Yes.
is also
So-
something else.
Yes, so they come out, expecting women are going to be like their sister or their mother. So they expect, because they've seen women in these personal spaces, even their own wives, because they've seen women in these personal spaces,
It shocks them.
Yes, so then they think that that's how we're going to react in business. So they approach us that way, because they're like, this sounds like my sister, this sounds like my wife.
Yes.
This woman's about to be emotional on me, or
Yes.
she's about to, or she's gaslighting me.
Did you know why I'm laughing? Because I'm very sure that so many people that have walked into these doors and the meetings have expected that from you.
Right.
And boy, are they surprised to
Yes.
find that you
Yes.
are something different.
Right. Your temperament has to be a certain way in business. You have to carry yourself. And these are things that, a lot of times, I know I've talked about code switching, that it's not, necessarily like, switching characters or like being bipolar or anything like that, and by no means I have to, talk to the mental health community. I'm not making fun of bipolar by any means, but code switching is, knowing how to act in front of whoever.
Emotional intelligence.
Yes, emotional intelligence.
Yes.
So somebody can come at, in whatever manner they come. I have to be able to govern myself. I have to have self-governance. So if in whatever demeanor somebody comes, I have to remember that this is my approach. I should not go above or below. I should, be able to
just self-control.
Yes.
And as you're thrust out there as a manager, as a CEO, as a director, the onus is on you really
absolutely.
to have greater self-control,
Yes.
because many people are watching you.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't have, unfortunately, we don't have the platform or the chance to say, well, but they said this. It's not how somebody, it's not, we should not be reactive. We should be proactive. So a reactive,
You're going to
person
have issues.
has no business being in leadership.
Tips from Olga. But talking about the business side as well, I've had so many rant and rave about little support from the government, because you talked about healthy competition,
Yes.
but there's quite an influx of other different, can I say, multinational businesses coming in, and they're coming in on very different taxation base, whereas the Ugandan ones, the local businesses in Uganda, continue to be taxed heavily, and there's quite an outcry about that. Whereas even there's some sort of concessions being given out, they're given out even to those ones that already have, they're denied to the local businesses, but also given to the multinational ones. Is this happening within this space, the car dealership space?
Absolutely, yes. One of the things that, the challenges that we have is like the huge taxes that are placed on vehicles. The vehicles are taxed while they're in the bond, but also taxed, when you're selling the vehicle. So I feel like that's double taxation, so that, is also a problem that we have right now. Yes, there is healthy competition. I talked about that. That's the positive side. But then I also talked about the competition where we have the unregistered businesses. They're offering maybe subpar goods, that are not necessarily genuine parts, but they're also competition, whether we like it or not. And then also the government subsidiaries that are necessarily going out to maybe not the businesses that need them. So, that's, how do we get there? We have to talk to legislature, the people in government, the right people to help local businesses, businesses owned by, indigenous people. Because those are the ones that are suffering. Those are the ones that, are dwindling and disappearing. Some of them been around for as long as that we have been, but So that would be something that would be helpful.
Don't you have like a platform? There must be a platform to advocate for some of
And
these.
that's what I'm discovering little by little. Remember, I've only been here 3 months, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
So hopefully
Yeah.
we can find, a way that, we could also be able to impact, what happens in our industry.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we want to do is, sort of talk about other businesses, talk to other businesses and see how we can, come together and, offer training. Because competition is good, but also we have to think about the culture and societies. Why do we have businesses? Why do we have, why we're doing what we're doing? For our communities. I mean, obviously, it starts from our families, from our households, for our communities, then for our nations. So when we come together and work together in what we've learned and the resources and how we can also help, government, help with these laws, we have to come together as businesses.
There's quite a lot of innovation, yes, actually being encouraged, not even just like globally, but
Yes.
by Uganda as well. I mean, like because we have to move in tandem with
Yes.
whatever is happening outside
Right.
there, and even outpace it.
Yes.
So of recent there has been the electric cars, and there's so much being said about
Yes.
it, and different areas. We
Yes.
have Ugandan cars, moving out on the streets from the reports that we get to see. Do we have something? What about the innovation coming from here, from your
Yes.
space? How are you working on it?
So great. Well, Lusimbi's Garage, as we know and we've talked about, has predominantly been dealing with Toyotas. However, very soon, without mentioning and giving so much away, we're taking on a new brand as well, a new different vehicle.
And
So yes.
okay,
So-
and that will be a conversation for another day.
time,
For another
yes.
day.
So we're doing that, and also part of that venture to take on the new brand, we're also going to be involved in electrical vehicles.
As well.
Yes.
So, because the Ugandan out there, I'm very sure, and this is something, every particular business niche right now is being ruffled up because either, like I said, you have to move in tandem or you have to outpace all the different global trends that are coming in. And when I was specifically, I am more concerned about how you are able to find a balance, being relevant, but also appealing to the Ugandan outside there about, what, this is the new trend that is coming. Is it workable? Is it practical to the Ugandan? Are they going to be able to access this electrical charging ports and everything? What's happening there?
So, from what I've had in the pipelines, we already have one company that's, doing this. And the company that we're working with right now in regards to bringing the electrical vehicles in Uganda has already started in Nairobi. So it's not too far from us right now. We're talking about in the next 3 months, And also, I believe there's an initiative to, well, first of all, these vehicles come with charging stations. But also, as this becomes more businesses offer in Uganda, I think the government, the ministry involved will have more public charging stations, around. I'm pretty sure I would want to be on that campaign to have, more charging stations around the city and, around other parts of the country.
All right, we'll see. And you also talked about training.
Yes.
How are the girls? Do you have so many girls within this particular space? Because I know there's been an increase in vocational training.
Yes.
It's huge right now because I believe that is one space in which we'll get more employment opportunities, but also especially for the girls, for the young women and the girls, getting them out of their comfort zone and pushing them into spaces such as this.
Right.
Do you have as many girls within your staff? Yes.
So officially, let's talk about the official part. Officially, we do training. We have intern programs, so a lot of students from Makerere University and all these different kind of colleges and universities come for training with us. And but also, without the official training, one of my biggest, one of the things that I love to do, since I've been mentored, I love to mentor. As a matter of fact, recently we've been hiring people. And I remember I ran into the parent of one of the people that we had, and they're like, I would like for you to mentor my daughter, So, unofficially, without, her having to ask, we train, a lot of our staff. We have a staff member who started out, at the reception. She's now the operations and human resource manager. She's basically running the place. So how did she get there? That's mentorship, you know. So we want to see a lot of, you know, young women, even young men. You know, we don't want to discriminate. I know that there's that shortage of mentorship for young women, but we only have one woman in training.
Really?
Yes, only one woman in training.
Why do
For
you
mechanics, I should
yeah,
specify.
why do you think this is happening? Because we know for sure that there's so many girls right now willing, not even just in, you know, in electrical engineering, but also mechanical, but also civil.
Yes.
There are so many girls right now that are getting out there, and it's even really being pushed for,
Yes.
right? And because there are women that are, you know, trailblazers.
Right.
So why do you think, do they fear to come into this space?
Yes, I think we're not instilling enough confidence in these young women to let them know that you can do it. You know, we're not that's why I mentioned earlier, and I always mention that it comes from inside. You know, we have to have that self-governance. It has to, even when we're mentoring, we have to instill into whether a male child or female child, that it starts with you. So I don't think we're instilling enough confidence in these young women to let them know that you can do this. You know, you can jump. You know, we don't take risks a lot, so it's a territory that they're unfamiliar with. So they're probably afraid that if they go, they might fail. But we have to instill in these women that you can do it, and you can, you know, even if you make mistakes, even if you fail, you get up and do it. But we're not, you know.
And this is why I want to ask the following question comes
Yes.
in. You clearly have to push through.
Yes.
Yes? You have to push through, continue this legacy, leave your own legacy as
Yes.
well. Who is your support system? So that you don't crash and burn.
Yes.
Who is your support
Yes.
system?
Support system. My support system ranges from, I have the business support. I have that, you know, even though I'm an orphan, I don't have both my parents, but I have people in my life that are parental figures. That support system has to be there. I am blessed to have the most amazing human friends. That support system, you need those people too. And then you need the confidence. So the confidence could be in all those people. You have to be able to identify that support system. So I have to have that business person, the parent, you know. We're always still children, regardless. You know, we need those people, and then, you know, the friends, and the that's when the sisterhood comes in, you know, with that support system that, you know, we talked about. So my support system ranges from
it's varied, but it's there.
It's varied, but you have to. I don't want to say you choose. I guess we choose our mentors, but when we're being yes, we have to be selective of our, you know, support system, because that support system is what also dictates our internal dialogue. Yes, internal dialogue is very important. That's what I, you know, from within, is what I keep talking about, because that support system is the one that's going to tell you you're doing great even when you're not, or when you fall, they're like, no, but remember, they're the ones who remind you of who you are. A lot of times we forget who we are. You know, no matter how confident, how strong you are, something's going to hit you in life that you're going to doubt yourself. And that support system, that's who
will keep
reminds you.
Will keep you back.
They remind you, and they got to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
You know, so don't.
Oh, yes.
Support system, if you have somebody in a support system who's always agreeing with you, who's always saying
that
yes,
one's not helping you.
That's not helping you one bit. That is not a support system. You know,
but
nobody's that perfect. We're not that great.
What about those ones that don't want to be told the truth?
Then they don't want to grow. They don't want to grow because we're not we're not perfect. None of us is. So if you don't want to grow, then sit in your little perfect corner, you know,
yes.
with your perfect self.
Yeah.
And then let the rest of the world continue, because then you find those other people that who end up bringing problems, whether narcissists or whether, you know, bringing problems to the rest of everybody. But
well, what do you think? What do you think has been, you know, going through all this? What do you think has been the greatest challenge ever since you came back into the business?
Oh, well, one, living in two different cultures.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that, you know, one, you're adjusting as a person individually in a different culture, but then also you adjusting in a different economy. So that's, you know, been one big challenge. And then also with family businesses, you know, with family businesses, they're great because, you know, you have that legacy, that continuity. But also, you know, with family businesses, you have to have the right staff, the right people in place. because we've talked about, that a lot of the Indian families, they work because that's what they're used to, that's what their culture is. Our culture is a little different in that, family business doesn't mean that family should work in the business.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. I can see some very uncomfortable conversations coming
right
up.
and not really, for us, and for us it's a positive thing,
and getting everyone on board,
yes,
in unison.
So family business, and where I'm going with that is that it doesn't mean everybody family should work in the business. For us, what's helped us is that only 2 family members are working in the business, actively, yes. And also family has to remember that this is not a family reunion. I like to use that phrase. I always say, this is not a family reunion. This is not a therapy session. This is a business. So that's the difference with family businesses, because you bring in a lot of family, we bring in our family issues. Little family or to none. I mean, I don't want to work here the whole time. You know what I mean? I want to be able to work and, bring the next generation in and bring in, more qualified people than myself, so that the business can grow. So we have to look at it as not, as a business, not family. I own this. I need to stay here. It's mine. I'm looking at it as somebody who's coming through, who's playing my part, who's going to do the best that I can do, so that the business can move into, bigger and better hands.
And just in just a nutshell, just in very quick words, how do you get that harmony? How, is it? Of course, it's not a one-off.
Yes.
Yes, I'm very sure it takes some time.
Yeah, and it's continuous.
It is. It's continuous.
How do we get that? Yes, it's continuous. It's continuous work. Just like any relationship, we've talked about, emotions in business, taking those out. But we also have to realize that we have relationships in business, So your relationship with your subordinate or your, the CEO or your supervisor, that's a relationship also. So we have to remember, to compartmentalize those relationships. What has worked for us is, my brother and myself decided that, hey, this is business first, and then of course and then we can deal with family stuff separately.
This is it's a very refreshing take. And I think it's just like we said, it's not a one-off. It's not something that is accidental. It's not.
Right.
You have to really work on it.
Oh, you have to be intentional.
And I wish you could talk to that person out there, because there's so many family businesses that don't really make it through. I wish you would talk to that person out there who has one, is embroiled in a family business, and then that one who has started it, but is hopeful that it will be a family business from generation to generation. Just stress those particular tips in a nutshell to them.
Yeah, I mean, as we've mentioned, family business doesn't necessarily mean that only family works there. Sometimes it works for some people, sometimes it doesn't. But we have to always remember that it's not, a place for us to air out our personal problems, as family, or to deal with, and treat it how we would treat our homes. So I see family business as, we have to remember also to be rational and bring your rational self, not our emotional self. We have to be able to understand and to communicate constantly, because it's a lot. I find it a lot harder to work with, family than it is with people who are not family. And when I say I find it a lot harder, I'm not saying that it's a big struggle now, but it can be a big struggle. Thankfully, we've been able to iron out, and we continue, and we know that we have to continuously keep working on that. But also what, family businesses need to know is that you have to bring in experts from outside. We get stuck a lot of times, because we think, okay, now we've taught so-and-so, and then that so-and-so should teach the next people. But we have to bring in experts, people who have a different point of view, in order for our businesses to grow and thrive.
Wow. That is it. That is what it takes to step within big shoes, to step in shoes, to handle a legacy, to manage it and maintain it, and at the same time, keep it vibrant. This has been Doreen Kemcha, Women in Business on Smart 24 TV, and we have been delighted, very delighted to have you, Olga Walusimbi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in. Let's meet next time on Women in Business next Saturday. Thank you so much.